Right now, scientists are attempting to grow ears, kidneys, blood vessels, livers, even hearts. In fact, at the moment, there are some people walking around with lab-grown bladders. But this is rare. In the US, over 80% of transplanted organs come from the deceased. The rest are donated by the living, except for a small number that are grown in laboratories. However, this could all change fairly soon. In the not too distant future, you might have a spare heart, kidney, or liver grown for you in a lab. And someday, there could be warehouses filled with new organs. So how close are we to farming human body parts? Last year, there was a record number of organ transplants in the United States, over 30,000, which does sound like a lot, but the waiting list for organ donation is over 100,000. There just aren't enough organs to go around.
In a 20-year period, the actual number of patients on the transplant list has gone up sixfold, 600%. So really, there's a dire need for organs for patients.
At the moment, the main way to get an organ is from a donor. But what if we could just cook up our own from scratch?
We have placed lab-grown organs into patients already. We have a number of tissues that we have implanted into patients. And the goal is to increase the number of patients that can benefit from these technologies.
And Dr. Atala knows. He led the team that developed the first lab-grown organ to be transplanted into a human back in 2006. It was a bladder, which, to be fair, is a pretty simple structure. But what about organs that are more complex?
Each of them actually, even ones that may look simple, have their unique challenges to them.
There are some things which are harder to make than others. For example, there's a level of complexity as we look at tissues, with flat structures such as skin being the least complex. They're flat, mostly one major cell type. Tubular structures like blood vessels are the second level of complexity. Hollow non-tubular organs like the stomach, the bladder are the third level of complexity, and by far the most complex are the solid organs like the heart or the liver.
As they get more complex in terms of the numbers of cells involved and the structural features, the complexity of those, the brain is certainly one that many people, I think, would say is among the list of higher tissues or organs to try and create.
Now, there are scientists who are working on growing brains in the lab, but so far they've only produced miniature, partially functioning brains about the size of a piece of popcorn. But these aren't being grown to implant into humans, they're being used for medical testing, like seeing how Zika virus affects the human brain. Now, how are scientists doing all this? Well, growing organs and organ tissue comes down to our good friend, the stem cell. Stem cells are the basis of all cells in our body. They're like children and can grow up to be anything.
To grow a tissue or an organ, one of the very first challenges to overcome is really how to get the cells to grow.
The pluripotent has the potential at the earliest state to turn into heart and liver and lung, and not just the tissue, but all the different cell types, the heart muscle cells, the blood vessel cells, all of those necessary cells that you need to form a complex tissue or organ.
Our old friend, the stem cell, is powerful. It's already being used to grow things like skin and tracheas.
One thing we're interested in is using the power of stem cells to try and grow or coax the cells to form the tissues, largely on their own. So what are the minimal cues, the minimal information we need to provide to let them do something that they're already capable of doing?
But we want to know about growing a complete organ, or let's say an entire farm of organs, and that's where things get a little crazy. Right now, scientists are creating organs and body parts using 3D printers. They make a biocompatible plastic scaffold, stem cells are placed onto it, and then they pop that whole thing into an incubator that mimics the conditions of the human body.
Through the 3D printers, we're really trying many different types of tissues. We use basically your typical imaging software program that's available at every major hospital, where you can really three-dimensionally configure what the organ really looks like, and then to develop our own software program that can then download the information from an X-ray, and then you can print a structure to fit that specific defect in that patient.
While we can print simple structures, solid organs are more complex. Engineers need to figure out how to connect blood vessels and tissues within the same organ, which ain't easy.
The most difficult organs to create are the solid organs, but the future really is, can we actually create structures that we can put in to either augment or replace these solid organs?
Then we have to overcome another huge obstacle. Even if we can make these organs, how can we produce them on a large enough scale to farm them? How do we meet the demand of thousands and thousands of patients? It's a process that could take decades.
So realistically speaking, I think that widespread manufacturing and availability of large organs that are produced in a lab or reactor setting, we're still a long ways away because of some of the just challenges that we face in growing them reproducibly to that size. Where I see in the shorter term success, 5-10 year period, is that can we make small pieces of them? Can we make lots of them?
In terms of solid organs, it's still going to be a while. In terms of the less complex organs, such as flat, tubular, and hollow non-tubular organs, we're already there. We're putting these into patients now.
One of the big ones at the moment is the manufacturing. Can you make enough of this, and can you make it repeatably enough so that it's deemed safe? You can't just make it once and have it be very different the next time. That's not acceptable.
So we've come a long way, but seeing row upon row of hearts, livers, and kidneys being grown and delivered to you via drone, that's still the stuff of sci-fi for sure. So take care of that liver, or don't. Who am I, your dad? If you want more of these videos, vote by subscribing here. And did you know scientists are trying to take a photograph of an actual black hole? Every one you've ever seen is fake. Tap here to see how close we are to one of the coolest photos humans have ever taken. And thanks for watching Seeker.